Hey everyone, thanks for joining us at the first TAC Wargaming podcast. I have with me Toaster, who
Hey
is
everybody.
Toaster is the leader of the tournament, the organizer. This is the third one he's put on, and he is responsible for all of this mayhem.
That's maybe putting it a bit strongly, but we'll go with it, sure.
All right. So I'm gonna go start it right off and kick right in. We got the first list that we're gonna look at, and this is, as expected, a Death Guard list. Um,
Shocker.
running the big boy Mortarion. This is very similar to the list that I used to run for the T5S2 Season 3 events. We got all of the usual folk here: 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, 2 Contemptors, Mortarion, bunch of Death Shroud, bunch of Poxwalkers, and the character support that you expect. I think this list's pretty good for this event. The thing that I think is interesting is that the other lists that are in the event, we don't have a lot of AdMech and we have no freebooters, and those are the two things that are going to really give this list a hard time. We don't the AdMech list that's running has only got a couple of las cannons in it as well, so Morty's going to be hard to take down for everybody. And from my experience, Morty can just run through things.
Yeah, I think there's only one model in this entire tournament that I think threatens Mortarion, and that's in the Eldar list that's running a Cobra. But outside of that, I don't see many things taking Morty down easily out of the roster we have.
Yeah, I've played against a similar Eldar list with this list. It wasn't a Cobra. It was what's the other big Eldar tank? Not the Viper.
Scorpion.
I'll have to look it up later on. But yeah, it was a similar thing, and all I did was just push Morty directly at that tank and try to like punch it in the face as fast as possible. I think he whiffed on like 2 rounds of shooting, and then that was the game. I won that because of that. So Morty with the 4 to hit and 4-up invuln can just tilt that and go right through it anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely true. This all around is a very classic Death Guard list. A lot of people have the opinion that Death Guard lists are largely solved. I don't think that's true, but in a list that's running Mortarion, this is pretty much as close as you get to the list.
Yeah, the staple list that we see in the meta right now is the 2 Contemptors, 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, Inexorable Detachment. Just everything here, apart from Mortarion. What they usually add in then is another Plague Burst, another Contemptor, maybe Bloat Drones, something like that.
Maybe a 3x3 Death Shroud.
Yeah, 3x3 is good. Interesting having the 4-man Death Shroud. That means that he screws up his to the last, because if it's a 3-man, he could run the 2 tanks and Morty as the to the last. But now it's going to be the 1 tank Morty and 1 squad of Death Shroud.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder why he selected to take an extra Death Shroud Terminator over, say, an entire unit of cultists or missile hats on both the Contemptors.
Yeah, that's what I would have probably done, is gone with the missile hats, or maybe even just another 10 Poxwalkers, make a 20-man blob, 2 20-man. Actually, he has a 15 and
he's
10.
He's capped out on number of Poxwalker squads.
Yeah, but he could take this 10-man and make it a 20-man.
That's true. He could. So that's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I don't have much more to say about the Death Guard list. Is there any thoughts you have on this?
No, honestly, it is super classic, and aside from a few atypical choices like that extra Death Shroud Terminator, I think we all know what to expect from this.
Yeah, I think so as well. And like I said, it's good. It can definitely go all the way through this tournament with what he's got here. All right, so moving on. The next list that we're going to talk about is a super interesting list, and it's a list that I'm actually facing in my first round matchup. Genestealer Croat Tyrannid list. I don't know anything about this list. You want to give me some thoughts on this?
Sure. We'll run through it. We have a Patriarch. We have a Magus. So the Patriarch is just a big melee beast. Both of these characters are running Mass Hypnosis, so they've got a great psychic power to punish low leadership type armies, which I don't know if maybe this was hedging for orcs or something like that. But unfortunately, there's no orcs in this tournament. Onto the troops, we've got several squads of Acolyte hybrids, 3x5, and then a 10-man, a second 10-man, and a 20-man. Pretty much everything in this list has flamer pistols. The whole detachment has a bit of a gimmick in that whenever a Acolyte hybrid dies, they get to roll a d6, and on a 4+, they can just shoot their weapon. So all of these flamer pistols are pretty much guaranteed to fire at least twice. And with Gene Silicol's propensity to deep strike giant blobs like this 20-man 3 inches away from you or whatever, and double shoot, and then shoot when you charge them, and then shoot when they die, the flamer output of these squads is pretty insane.
Yeah, that's the flamers. Ever since they got the 12-inch range buff, the flame pistols are actually really, or hand flamers are actually really, really good. I'm guessing he's probably running the two 10-mans and the 10-man metamorph in the Goliaths.
I would think so, but this is Gene Silicult, so anything goes.
Yeah, that's true.
Two of those squads have heavy rock cutters, which are really, really good melee weapons.
Yeah, the 10-mans have rock cutters. The 20-mans all hand flamers, right?
Yeah, most of the 20-man and the 5-mans are just hand flamers.
And then with we're using the new Tyranid book, right? So
we are. So the Tyranid detachment's really interesting. It's taking all of the Leviathan supplement rules from Warzone Octarius and bringing them to their natural conclusion of buffing the only good shooting unit in the Tyranid Codex to the sky.
Well, Hiveguard weren't taken enough in Tyranid lists, so
that's true. That's true. I shouldn't say the only good shooting Tyranid unit. There's at least one more. But
the other one would be the Exocrine, right? Which is
that would be it.
Yep.
So he's running 2 6-man groups of Hiveguard and 2 units of Tyranid warriors. Those Tyranid warriors are each going to give those. The Tyranid warriors are both taking bioweapon bond as a synaptic link, which means they're going to get to throw a +1 a hit onto the Hiveguard. So they'll be hitting on pews and ignoring line of sight, which is gross.
It's interesting also because with that, the Tyranid warriors basically have to babysit the Hiveguard, right? What's the range on that bioweapon bond?
It's synapse range, so
okay, so that's like 18 inches or something like that.
So it's a pretty decent range. So it's and they can kind of chain it. So it's entirely possible for, say, both of these squads to be in synapse range of one unit of warriors and the other unit of warriors to just be in synapse range of the second. Okay. So these Tyranid warrior blobs could be sitting on objectives or doing actions and stuff like that, while also buffing the Hiveguard to the moon.
Yeah, and then, I guess they also just act as backline, deep strike denial, counterchargers, all of that good stuff.
Exactly.
They're pretty good
still
in melee.
Tyranid warriors.
Yeah,
they're good in melee. Yeah, they're good in melee. And one of those Hiveguard units has enhanced resistances, so they are going to be tough to take out.
Cool. And then the Hiveguard are hitting on 2s. Yeah, Hive guys are hitting on 2s.
Hitting on 2s, they can double shoot. There's all sorts of stuff they can do.
Yeah. All right. I'm not super thrilled to face this list. I'm running the standard Death Guard list, and with like they said, the Hiveguard I think are a big threat to me, and I have to try to kill those. And with one squad completely ignoring AP 1 and 2, I don't know if that's completely possible. But yeah. The rest of it, the shooting doesn't scare me too much. Hand flamers, obviously, just through sheer volume, they kill stuff like ridiculous. He has autocannons on the Goliaths, which don't matter into Death Guard.
Yeah, those are largely to absorb hits and spill OPSEC onto points. One thing we forgot to mention was the Neurathrope with Symbiostorm.
Yeah, so making exploding 6s on for one of the units on shooting, right?
Right.
But that's been changed now, so this is it's only true 6s, not like the +1 doesn't affect
it is unmodified. And then the Leviathan supplement comes with some other really fun tricks to buff up your shooting too. So it it's going to be really interesting seeing what kind of output these Hive Guard are going to have. Into Death Guard and stuff with -1 damage, maybe not super duper scary, but against most of the list in this tournament, these are going to be the unit to watch out for.
Yeah, because so each one does 2. We're talking about 6 here, so we got 12, 24, and then one's going to double tap for sort of 36 shots coming out of there. Strength 8, hitting on 2s, wounding most things on 2s or 3s.
Yeah, exploding 6s with one of the squads, etc., etc.
Yeah, they'll probably the one you're double tapping. So in theory, two rounds of fire is going to have exploding 6s.
Yeah, so this whole list gets to play a really interesting style in 9E, which is the artillery plus mass obsec sort of style of gameplay.
Yeah,
and I think that this list will do it pretty well. If you don't have obsec on a point, there will be acolyte hybrids deep striking within 3 inches to take that point away from you and deny you primary. He's going to be able to sit back and fire off with those Hive Guard and just kind of pick apart what he wants to pick apart and throw units on point to try and edge you out in primary points until he's depleted enough of your army to be able to really go in hard, I think.
Yep. And then just dropping in a unit. I'm
interested to see it play.
Just dropping in a unit as well every turn, just with the flamers, and you can double shoot the flamers. Drop it once when it drops, and then again in the shooting phase. So
yeah, it's pretty formidable, and it's piloted by a great player. Danny Porter is. People may have seen tournament reports from him recently in Poland in a WTC team tournament. He ended up going 5-0 with a Gene Stealer cult Tyranid list,
and that
similar to this.
That was before
that was before the supplement.
Yeah.
And honestly, anybody going 5-0 with Tyranids or Tyranid Gene Stealer cult 9th edition is impressive.
Yep. Yeah, I think him and Tyler Bortel are like the only 2 people that have been really pushing the Gene Stealer cult still. So, yep, definitely see what he can do. We picked him out as, like I said, an interesting list that we think could potentially go all the way. Definitely partially because of the pilot of that list. All right, I guess we'll move on to the next one, unless you have anything you want to add to this.
No, I think that's about it for. I don't know what I don't know. We'll see what that list can pull out.
All right, next list is a slightly disappointing salads Iron Hands list. This is probably the most meta list that we picked for this discussion. Nassim Fuchain has been running this list in UK for a while, or variations of this list. It has the Contemptor Dreadnought, which is made with March of Ancients to give it character, so it's character protected the whole time. We've got a drop pod and a couple squads of Devastators with multi-meltas and grav cannons to come in and eradicate whatever is the main threat in the other enemy's army turn 1. We got another Redemptor Dreadnought that can hide in the back and put out just damage with the Macroplasma cannon. And then, of course, everything is topped off by having Whirlwind of Rage and Born Heroes. So hitting on 2s, exploding 6s, and melee, 2 squads of Vanguard vets, a squad of Jump Pack Assault Marines, and a squad of Blade Guard veterans that can all just basically tear through anything that they run into. I played Nassim Fuchain in the T5S2 Invitational in my group stage, and he was the one person that I lost to with my Death Guard, with my Morty Death Guard list, which is basically the same one Nurgling is running. And this list is just very hard to deal with the sheer amount of firepower it comes out with, because the hard part is you can't stick your head out, because the Contemptor is much like a Death Guard Contemptor, where it has exploding 6s to hit, but then it also has the total annihilation strat that Iron Hands has. So 6s to wound do double damage, or do an extra wound as well. And so the one Contemptor picked up a Plague Burst Crawler on turn 1 by itself.
Oof.
Yeah, it's really, like, you think like oh, it's one Contemptor, yes, it's bad, but it's not going to be that bad. It can't go through a Plague Burst Crawler that's T8 and has -1 damage. Nope, yeah, definitely can. So, but and then the Vanguard veterans all have storm shields, all have lightning claws, so they can jump in, come in. They're going to charge you early, tie you up. He wants to hold you in your deployment zone and make you have to kind of like deal with them, and it does that whole style of you're locked in your deployment zone, dealing with my tough melee. My shooting is free to shoot whatever it wants to, and you can't get out and get onto the primaries while my other like squads of jump pack assault marines or infiltrators or incursors are out there grabbing the objectives.
I can't help but look at this list and think that like this is where we were always going with Space Marines in this edition.
Yeah.
This just kind of is like the greatest hits of the Space Marine Codex. Relic Contemptors are great. Redemptor Dreadnoughts are great. Vanguard Vets with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields are great. Anything with a multi-Meltera Grav Cannon is great. Blade Guards are great. And they just found the perfect Space Marine chapter to synergize with those things, I think, with this kind of a list.
Yep. Just take the things that we know are that are the best in the book, put them all in one list, and then give them exploding sixes to hit in melee and and hit on twos.
Yeah, turns out that's good.
And they're still Iron Hand successors, so they're still like getting the Super Doctrine reroll ones to hit in Devastator in turn 1, and don't count as move and shoot when they're in Devastator as well. So
yeah, so that's pretty fantastic actually for turn 1 Alpha Strike.
Yeah, the drop pod will come in
with a drop pod.
Yep, the drop pod comes in,
drop them down,
2 squads
and shoot.
of devs. Yeah, exactly. Drop pod comes in, 2 squads of devs. They pick up whatever they point at. If you have to have really good terrain to hide behind against it.
Yeah, so that's a pretty scary list, and given the tournament meta that we're in, being the list submitted for this tournament, I think it stands a pretty good chance of doing very well.
Yeah, and Salad's also another good player who's been playing a lot of TTS tournaments consistently in the top 5 or 10 of most of the tournaments that he's in. So, and he's been playing Iron Hands for a lot of it. So he was in the Invitational last season for T5S2. Definitely knows how to play the list and how to pilot the list. So I expect him to go pretty far with this list as well.
Yeah, it definitely seems practiced. That actually brings up a really interesting point about this tournament that I think is great, is we have such a mix of T5S2 players, Polish players, people from the UK, people from Australia, people from America, a very, very wide, varied group with some extremely competitive players, and then also some very new players.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Plague and Pestilence in general, I think, started out as a fun, let's just have a good old time on our Discord server tournament, and it's kind of grown now into a little bit more competitive, where people are really trying to bring some teeth to it, but they're also all pretty friendly players and just looking to have a good time with their lists.
Yeah, it's a good vibe. It definitely started as a let's have a casual tournament, and then people sabotaged it by throwing money at the prize pool, and here we are today.
Yes, they certainly did.
But I think it creates a really great environment for people that are maybe new to the competitive scene or want to get into the competitive scene to not only play against some absolutely amazing players, but watch our streams, watch our games, and learn from some of the best in the tabletop scene.
Yeah.
Tabletop simulator
it's
scene.
Funny because despite the amount of the size of the prize pool that is available, people are still not deviating from what they want to play. Like I said, we have 20 something players, and we have 0 freebooters and only 1 AdMech, and that 1 AdMech just has las cannons on planes, no chickens. It's still a nasty AdMech list, but yeah,
but very an AdMech 1.0, like right after the Codex came out, sort of a style list. Definitely none of this 6-plane nonsense we've been seeing lately.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one, and this is probably what I think is the most interesting, most exciting list out of the tournament. All right, and we've got Michael Lee's Tau list.
Michael Lee's Tau list.
Yes. Michael was in the Plague and Pestilence 2 and went to the final table, right?
Yeah, he went to the final table, ended up in second place, running a list very similar to the list that Richard Siegler was rocking the tournament scene with for a short time. But now he's back with kind of his own brew, which you have to applaud anyone who's taking something not proven and out of the Tau Codex to a tournament like this.
Yeah, so I know nothing about Tau, so this is all you. Tell me what I should expect if I run into this Tau list. What am I afraid of here?
So I also know very little about Tau, but I'll do my best. HQ slots, we've got 2 commanders and Cold Star suits. So these guys are fast, like 20-inch move. They can advance even farther. One has plasma rifles. The other one has fusion blasters. So one of them is kitted out to be able to take out vehicles and whatnot. The other one is pretty much kitted out to kill characters. So these things can sit back, enjoy character protection, and then the second you move something out of position, they can zip forward, completely assassinate a character, assassinate a vehicle. You know, just really annihilate a specific target that needs to die.
Yeah.
One of them has the Puretide Engram Neurochip, which is your standard kind of whenever somebody uses a strat, roll a d6 on a 5+, you get a CP back sort of a deal. And the other one with 4 plasma rifles can also advance and shoot. So there is no place on the entire board that is safe from that guy. He can pretty much go from corner to corner when he advances and then fire his rapid fire plasma rifles at you, which are strength 6, AP -3, 1 damage times 4.
And that's actually for the plasma. That makes it actually interesting because even though they're 1 damage, like a lot of stuff has that -1 damage. So the 1 damage plasma rifles don't hurt that at all, really.
Exactly. And when you're talking about a unit that costs 160 points,
yeah. And how many?
You know, they
how many
have
shots?
a lot of potential.
How many shots does that put out each?
It's rapid fire 1 times 4, so they'll be putting out 8 shots.
Okay.
At BS 2+, strength 6, AP -3, 1 damage.
Yeah, so that's going to pick up a small squad, do some serious damage to an elite squad.
Exactly. Pick up a character you left out in the open. And then, like I said, the other one has the fusion blasters, which are the kind of old Melta rules.
Yeah, and you can even suicide this one if a character's out, not in bodyguard, but in like what he's called, Lookout Sir. You can just throw this thing. It moves so fast he can run right next to that character and blast him off the table, right?
Yes, exactly. I've actually played against this list once, and that's pretty much what happened to me. You think your characters are safe with Lookout Sir until all of a sudden they find that 1 inch that they can move to that's closer than anything else and just blow you up right through it. A lot of the newer codexes do have bodyguard rules, which weakens this strategy a bit. But if you don't have bodyguard rules, don't count on Lookout Sir to save you against these guys trying to come in and take you out.
Yeah.
Troops wise, there are 4 breacher teams with pulse blasters. Each one has, or 2 of them have 2 gun drones with pulse carbines. These are your pretty standard jack of all trades sort of troop choice. They do pretty good shooting up close. If you can get into 5-inch range with these things, they're shooting at strength 6, AP -2. Their medium and long range shooting isn't fantastic, but they are all assault weapons, so they can move, they can advance, they can still shoot. It's good strength, especially when you're going into a tournament like this where you expect to see a lot of T5. It's not a bad choice. I believe most of these are going to be sitting in Devilfish.
Yeah, and so they can kind of do the Drukhari thing where they are moving up to a point within the Devilfish, and then the Devilfish, they can either jump out and shoot, or afterwards, or that somebody has to take the Devilfish out, and then all the characters all the troops spill out and hold the point with OBSEC.
Exactly. They can sit in the transport and then spill out OBSEC onto the point, or if that's not working out, they can jump out and the Devilfish can go charge something or get in the way or body block. So the Devilfishes themselves each have 2 smart missile systems, and that's something you see in a couple places in this list is indirect fire. That's really, really great. So 2 Devilfish with smart missile systems. That is 8 shots apiece. It's strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage that ignores line of sight. And then there's a unit of 3 Crisis Chassis with airbursting fragmentation projectors on each of them. So between the Devilfish and the Crisis suits, there's a really significant amount of ignore line of sight artillery style shooting in this list.
Yep. And then these are blast, so right? So they can pick up.
Yes. So there are they are. So your little 5-man squads camping on a backfield objective are very not safe.
Yeah.
And then we've got some Vespids here. These are your standard cheap fast troop to score, engage on all fronts, or do actions.
Yeah, I imagine dropping in and doing rod would be a thing you'd see them commonly doing as well, because they natively deep strike. And then there's 3 big things.
Boys.
Yeah, people are looking at that on the screen, and I'm sure there's these 3 big guys in the back, and they're saying, "What are those big things? We haven't seen them in 9th edition at all."
Why are they talking about the Fire Warriors and those guys back there? Yeah, so there's a Riptide with 2 smart missile systems. Again, ignore line of sight shooting, an ion accelerator, and a velocity tracker. So this thing is shooting accurately, and it is shooting for 3 plus D3 damage, 6 shots, overcharged heavy 6. This thing kills vehicles very easily. This thing has a lot of ancillary fire that you can throw at small squads hiding here or there. It's also fast. It's also hard to kill. 14 wounds, T7. It's got a 2+ save.
Yep,
we know him. We love him.
And
it's the Riptide.
That's one of the things that you mentioned is a threat to Mortarion in that first list that we talked about.
Yes, exactly. This a D3+3 is not a profile Mortarion likes to see. There's 2 shielded missile drones that go along with this guy, and if you haven't played Tau in a while, which let's be real, most of us haven't, these things are so annoying. Being able to save your protocols and jump in front and then make their feel no pains, you can end up absorbing a lot of big shots that are going into the Riptides or the other big battle suits. So to take these guys down, if you don't have a decent weight of fire in your anti-tank, is very difficult, because they'll just eat a couple shots with the drones first.
And you can branch Nova Charge this, so he's going to have they give a 3-up or a 4-up save with that invuln save?
Yes, I think it's 4-up.
Yeah, so that makes him even harder to kill, because they could take some big shots into there if they're not, and then pass some other ones over to the drones. Yeah,
exactly. It's hard to kill. And then here's kind of the star of the list, I think, is these 2 Yavara battle suits, which are fast attack choices. They're similar to the Riptide in that they're big T7, 4+ wound, 2+ save. These things have a really interesting weapon loadout, though. They have a similar gun to the Riptide in the ionic discharge cannon. Heavy 6, strength 9. It's only AP -1 and 3 flat damage, but these things are great Terminator hunters right there. And perhaps the most interesting thing about these guys is the phased plasma flamers, which when you Nova them, you're getting 3d6 auto hits at strength 6, AP -2, 1 damage.
Yep,
it is very, very hard to charge these things. And because of greater good, you can charge 7 things into this Yavara, and if it picks them up one at a time, it can just keep firing Overwatch.
Yeah, that's scary. That's really scary.
I, in a moment of tactical genius, probably suicided 300 points in one turn trying to get something into combat with these.
Oh, wow. What were you playing at the time?
I was playing orcs.
Oh yeah, so orcs are
like a perfect melee heavy orc list.
Yeah, and that's like
go well for me.
A perfect body for a strength 6 flamer nowadays.
Exactly. But so this list is interesting in that it has a really high volume of indirect fire, and it also has a few really fast units that can pick up pretty much whatever they want to pick up. There's not many things that most armies are going to have that one of these battle suits or one of these cold stars isn't going to be able to just pick up off the board. So I think where this list might be able to score some decent wins is in a sit back, very cautious play style, keeping their stuff hidden, using their indirect fire to maybe take you off of a primary point or kill your units trying to score engage or something like that. And then once you try to spread out onto the board, taking their 5 battle suits here and zipping them all over the board, blowing up the soft targets that they're meant to kill, and just being really, really annoying to catch and deal with. So
yeah, and then
we'll see if it works in practice.
And then even with the way Moncaz ruled now, so even if you do manage to get something in charged on these battle suits, if he saves his Moncaz, he can still jump them out of combat with that, right, and still fire again.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he can. I think he can do it twice with this list.
Okay, yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at either.
Yeah, so it's going to be very, very hard to tie them down. You have to get into combat with something, and you have to kill this stuff in one turn, or else it's on the other side of the board before you know it.
Yeah,
and still shooting you.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about, like, we just haven't seen Tau recently, right? Like, that's something that people are not used to playing against, and I think that was something that helped Michael in the last tournament. Like, just people went into that match, and if they haven't been following Siegler and seeing how he plays Tau, and like they just didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't know what they were going for.
Oh yeah, I can speak firsthand to playing against this list and not really knowing how it worked, and it not going well.
All right, well, let's move on. Before we get to our final list, we have 2 honorable mention lists that we think are interesting enough to mention. Don't know how far they're going to go. One of them has already played a game and kind of surprised us. The first one we're going to talk about is Harry Gieringers' Salamanders list, which is all Trueborn, firstborn Salamanders. Harry's been playing Salamanders for ever, and he refuses to go to Primaris. He did pretty good. I think he was like top 10, maybe closer to top 5 in the last PNP, and so we expect to see him do well. He's dropped his dreadnoughts and he's gone with a bunch of land speeders now, typhoons, I think, with the multi-meltas. So yeah, that should be an interesting list. And then the other list.
Oh, the other list is Don Hoosan, who is running Drazar, 3 homunculuses, and 190 racks.
And Don's played his first game already at the time of recording this,
right? He has. He played his first game, and it was a shellacking. It was something to behold. Just the number of bodies that you have to deal with 5 toughness, and then an invuln save, and then a feel no pain. And when they get into combat with you, they're swinging it AP -2.
For reasons.
Yeah, they're all butchers of flesh. So you just have a tremendous amount of bodies to chew through. They're gonna get in combat with you by turn 3 at the very latest, and they're gonna hurt. Yep. So I'm not sure how many lists are equipped to deal with that. It's a very linear strategy. So I think it's more of a it's more of a list check.
Yeah.
Than anything else.
And I'm not gonna lie, I looked at that list and I did some math on that list, and I looked at my contemptors in my list and went, well, how many of those racks does a contemptor pick up? And it's less than I thought it was. I think one contemptor picks up like 14 racks, and there's 190 of them. So that's a lot of shooting that I need to do.
It's a lot of shooting. I think a couple of people have been crunching those numbers and said to themselves, wow, I need 8 turns of shooting to kill this list.
And you can't out obsec it because everything's obsec in that list.
Everything is obsec. There's so many bodies. So I think that is going to be a really interesting list to see who can pick up enough models or score enough points through secondaries to be able to edge out any victories against that list.
Yep.
It's degenerate, and we love you, Don. But
Yeah.
my God. I think the only reason we haven't seen lists like that in the real life tournament scene is that people are still painting racks since the Drukhari Codex came out.
Yeah, somebody's going to walk in with that list, and everybody's going to realize that, oh, this is a problem.
By the time LVO rolls around, I'm sure someone will have painted 190 racks.
All right, well, let's move on to our final list to talk about today. And I personally think this is the favorite for the whole tournament, partially because of the pilot. No, mostly because of the pilot. AshC is running her Adeptus Sororitas. And if you don't know Ash, she is the champion of the T5S2 Season 3 Invitational. Running almost this exact list, very similar to this list. Maybe this exact list. I haven't really double checked it, but yeah. And she's been running this sister's list for a good 3 months now, and just top 3 every event she's in. So, going through the list, we've got a patrol of Valorous Heart. So this is the ignoring 1 AP of AP 1 and 2 is how it works. We got the big girl Morvenval. We have Kygnal and Ephrail Stern. We also have a Calexis Assassin, a squad of Crusaders, squad of Battle Sisters, squad of Celestines, Sacrosants, so they're the bodyguards, and then 2 individual mortifiers with the Anchorite upgrades to give them a better save. Then we move on, and we've got an Argent Shroud Spearhead, and this one is led by Celestine. She's a beatstick. We've got a Preacher in the elites, as well as 2 Crusaders, and then we've got a Mortifier, again with the Anchorite upgrade. 3 squads of 4 Penitent engines, all armed with heavy flamers or Ministorum flamers now, and Penitent flails. And then,
speaking of a list that might be able to pick up 190 racks.
Seriously, yes. And then 2 squads of Retributors with 3 Multi-Meltas and a Simulacrum in each one, as well as 2 Amorium Cherubs. This list has... So it's kind of like the Rax list in a way, if you look at it. Obviously not 190 bodies, but everything here, for the most part, that you're going to be shooting at has got a 5-up Feel No Pain, has a 6-up Invuln because it's... actually, I don't think... Sorry, I take that back. The Penitent engines and the Mortifiers don't get the Invuln, but it does have the 5-up Feel No Pain on all of them. And they're all T5, multi-wounds, 4 wounds each. So they're tough to get through. But then it has these 3 characters that can just tear anything apart in melee that they want to. It's got some heavy shooting to take down things like Yavaras and Riptides, if it can get some hits on him with these multi-meltas. It just covers all the bases. It has a lot of board control. Everything's fast. I think Penitent engines move 8 inches. They can advance and charge. They're really good. And then
the thing I like about this list is how hero hammery it is.
Yeah, it's super hero hammer.
It's like hero hammer, and then we've got some heavy weapons, and then just take a great unit like Penitent engines and run up.
Yeah. And what she did is she took the heroes that can do whatever they want to, like can engage with anything, and then she shores up all her weaknesses. So we've got the Retributors that, by the way, they're Argent Shroud, so they can advance and still shoot with no penalty. So, in theory, they're moving 6 inches plus D6 to get a line of sight on something that they want to target, giving them a basically a 30 to 36 inch threat range on those meltas with no penalty to hit. And then,
Wow.
yeah, they're really nasty. And most people, have been running stuff in rhinos and stuff, but these don't even have rhinos. They just pop out from behind terrain and get those early shots on, and I'm assuming probably just get our throwaway units.
Rhinos would just slow them down, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, they'll function kind of like the drop pod in Salads List, where these girls are going to come out early on, put the damage out, and then they eliminate the threats to the list, and then if they die, they die. We don't care about them as much. And then the characters can't be shot because of the bodyguards the whole time, which are going to hide in cover most of the time. We also shore up any of our psychic defense because sisters don't have psychic, but we've got a Calexis Assassin for that -2 for Psykers casting. We've got to deny everything. Well, not the Penitent Engines, but all of the sister units can deny on a 6 on a D6. And then you also have Stern, who can deny with a normal deny, I believe she has. And Mortal Wounds then. Stern puts out Mortal Wounds. The Preacher puts out Mortal Wounds. Celestine puts out Mortal Wounds in melee. Vol puts out Mortal Wounds in melee.
And Vol's just a total beast.
Yeah, she is. Yep. And then with these Retributor squads, one of them that advanced out up to 12 inches and then got their line of sight is going to be re-rolling all hits and all wounds because of Vol.
Right, that's right. Sisters have a lot of aura stack kind of things going on.
So yeah, this list can do everything. Oh, and then again, as we were talking about those 190 racks, these Penitent Engines, there's a little old strat that makes those 2 heavy flamers that each one has do, instead of D6 hits, just flat 6 for each one. So each one of these 12, 24, 36, 48 auto hits at strength 6, AP -1 damage.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yep, nothing. Nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah, these guys put Def Dreads to shame.
Yeah, they're really good. Again, I think you don't see a lot of these in the world because they come in boxes of 2. So, you're talking about, like $400 worth of Penitent Engines and Mortifiers out there. But
yeah, the tabletop simulator scene definitely lends itself to some lists that would be very tough to play in real life.
It's interesting though, because there's players out there that will not blink an eye at dropping the money on that. So you're going to see them eventually. It just takes a little while to get these built up,
Yeah, that's true. I think it's interesting the way that you can look at the TTS scene, and there's like a lot of innovation that happens on tabletop simulator compared to real space, I think.
Yep.
Just because everyone is much more nimble with their model choices because you aren't buying and building and painting them.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if we see this adopted more in the future for some of the actual tabletop players. I think I have 4 Penitent Engines and 4 Mortifiers, so it won't be me for a while.
For sure. Well, out there somewhere, there's somebody painting their 137th rack.
Yes. And that's going to slam into 12 Penitent Engines at some point.
Yeah, there's someone building their 12th Penitent Engine. And,
yes.
And LVO 2022.
Exactly. That's all I got for the list. Do you have any other questions on this?
I don't think so. I think that was a great explanation. This is a terrifying list.
Yeah, and piloted in expert hands as well. So we will see how far she goes. But I expect, like I said, I expect her to be in the final, if not the top table, at least in the top 4 players.
Yeah, well, I look forward to handing her prize money.
So yeah, let's before we close out again, I guess why don't you talk a little bit about the tournament again and what the plans are for the future, and also, since this is the first TAC podcast, what do we know about us, huh?
What do we know about us? So TAC is a group of people that we kind of strung together from the Death Guard Discord originally. I started the Plague and Pestilence tournament earlier this year. This is our third iteration of it. And every time we ran it, it got bigger and bigger. Our prize pool got stupidly large. We got more and more interest.
What is that prize pool at right now? Just for the
prize pool is $430 right now
for a 20-man tournament. So we're talking the winners.
It's significant. It's significant.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to say that this is the first one sponsored by TAC Wargaming, which is a group of us getting together and producing content for 40K. You can check us out, www.tacwargaming.com. I know we've got some great articles from Orcspit here about Mortarion. We've got some great stuff about the best way to run the Silent King. We have new player resources, and that's where you can find all the information on this and future Plague and Pestilence tournaments.
Yep. And I'll have the links, all that will be below in the description of the video. So check us out. Well, thanks, Toaster. Thanks for coming on. We will have another one of these up soon. We're not sure when our schedule is going to be yet for the podcast vlogs, but we will definitely put some more up there coming up. We expect articles every week on TAC Wargaming, and check those out. And come check out some of the stream games. You can find them on Toaster's Twitch channel, which is
twitch.tv/boatnectar.
That's a boat_nectar, right?
Boat_nectar.
Okay. And then you can also check them out. You'll find some games on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/orcspit. So thanks for
sure. And we'll get a full list of there are a few other people playing who are streaming their games. We'll make sure to collect everything together and get a list up of VODs that we can put on the website as well.
Yeah, so you'll be able to check out the full tournament coverage that way. So thanks, everyone, for watching and listening, and we hope you enjoyed this first podcast, and look out for more from us in the future.
All right, well, thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Yep, you're welcome.